There's a moment where everything starts to go wrong, and most people don't even see it happening. And it doesn't start with conflict. It doesn't start with distance. It starts with you being kind, with you showing up, giving more, trying to make things feel right. And ironically, that's the exact moment the dynamic begins to shift. Because when you're an empath, you don't walk into connections trying to control anyone. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to manipulate the situation. You just feel something. You sense pain. You sense distance. You sense potential. And something inside you responds to that, not logically, emotionally. You start thinking, maybe they just need someone safe. Maybe they've never been loved properly. Maybe if I show them consistency, they'll finally relax. Maybe if I'm patient enough, they'll open up. And at first, this feels like something good. It feels meaningful. It feels like connection. It feels like you're doing something that actually matters. But slowly, without realizing it, something starts to change. You stop just connecting with the person, and you start taking responsibility for them. Their emotions, their healing, their behavior. And that's the shift. That's where the empath starts to go wrong. Not because you care, but because you start believing it's your job to fix what you didn't break. And once that happens, the relationship stops being equal. It becomes one-sided, even if it doesn't look like it yet. At the beginning, it's subtle. You're just being thoughtful, checking in, listening, trying to understand, giving them space when they pull away, explaining their behavior to yourself. They're just stressed. They've been through a lot. They don't trust easily. And maybe some of that is true. But here's the problem. The more you understand someone, the easier it becomes to excuse them. And once you start excusing patterns, you stop seeing reality clearly, because understanding someone's behavior doesn't mean you should tolerate it. You can understand someone's past and still admit they're hurting you. But empaths struggle with that. Because once they see the reason behind someone's behavior, they feel guilty holding them accountable. So instead of stepping back, they lean in harder. More patience, more effort, more understanding, more giving. And that's when everything quietly starts to break. Because now something important has changed. The relationship is no longer mutual. You're not just connecting anymore. You're maintaining it. You're holding it together. You're carrying the emotional weight of both people. And whether the other person realizes it or not, they start to learn something. They learn that you'll stay even when they give less. They learn that you'll keep reaching even when they stop. They learn that your love doesn't require consistency from them. And once that pattern sets in, the dynamic shifts completely. Because now they're receiving, and you're sustaining. And that's when kindness starts turning into something else. Not strength, not love, but overextension. And the more you give without boundaries, the more it quietly teaches the other person they don't have to meet you at your level. And this is where it gets dangerous, because it doesn't just become one-sided, it becomes addictive, not in an obvious way, but in a psychological way, because the connection becomes inconsistent, hot and cold, close, then distant, available, then gone. And when something is unpredictable, it actually pulls you in deeper, because now you're not just feeling connection, you're chasing it. You start waiting for the good moments, the soft version of them, the version that makes you feel seen, the version that shows up just enough to keep you hoping. And when those moments come back, it feels powerful. It feels real. It feels like, see, this is who they really are. But what you're actually experiencing isn't stability. It's relief. Relief that the distance is gone. Relief that they came back. Relief that you didn't lose them. And relief can feel a lot like love when you've been sitting in uncertainty. So you hold on to those moments. You replay them. You use them as proof that the connection is real. But a few good moments don't define a relationship. Patterns do. And when the pattern is inconsistency, you're not in a healthy connection. You're in a cycle. And once you're in that cycle, you start changing. Slowly at first, then completely. You start asking different questions, not, is this good for me? But how do I keep this? You start lowering the standard, accepting less, explaining more, waiting longer. You become more patient than you should be, more understanding than the situation deserves. You start shrinking your needs so the connection doesn't fall apart. And the worst part is, you don't even realize you're doing it. Because in your mind, you're just trying to make it work. You're trying to hold on to something that feels meaningful. But what you're actually doing is abandoning yourself to maintain the connection. And once you cross that line, the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. Because now it's not just about the person, it's about the investment, the time, the energy, the emotional effort, the belief that all of this has to mean something. So you stay, not because it feels right anymore, but because walking away would force you to admit the truth, that you gave too much to someone who gave too little. And that realization hits hard, because empaths don't just lose the person, they lose the version of the story they believed in, the potential, the future they imagined, the meaning they attached to everything they gave. And a lot of times, they turn it inward. They start asking, why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong? Why did they change? But those aren't the right questions. The real question is this: why did I keep giving to someone who made me feel like I wasn't enough? That's the shift. Because your healing doesn't start when they finally understand you. It starts when you finally understand yourself. When you stop focusing on their behavior and start paying attention to your patterns. Not to judge yourself, but to wake yourself up. Because once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. And here's something empaths struggle with the most: the moment the other person comes back. Because a lot of times, they do. They text again, they reappear, they soften, they say the right things, and when that happens, it feels like validation. It feels like, see, they finally realized. But you need to understand something clearly. Someone coming back is not the same as someone changing. People come back for a lot of reasons. They miss your energy, they miss your attention, they miss the way you made them feel. They miss having access to you. But that doesn't mean they're ready to love you properly. Missing you is not the same as valuing you. And if you don't understand that, you'll let them back in and walk right back into the same cycle. This is where boundaries come in. And a lot of people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are walls. They think boundaries push people away. But that's not what they do. Boundaries are filters. They reveal who can respect you and who only valued you when you were easy to access. Because the right person will adjust. They may not like every boundary, but they will respect it. The wrong person will resist it. They'll say you changed. They'll say you're being difficult. They'll say you're cold. But what they really mean is, you're no longer as easy to benefit from. And that's the moment everything becomes clear. Because you can't heal and stay available for the same dynamic that broke you. At some point, you have to decide, do I want to be needed or do I want to be respected? Because those are not the same thing. Being needed can feel powerful. It can feel like connection. It can feel like love. But sometimes people need you because you make their life easier, not because they're capable of loving you the right way. And love that doesn't protect you will eventually drain you. Real love is different. It doesn't leave you confused. It doesn't make you feel like you're constantly proving your worth. It doesn't require you to shrink, or stay silent, or carry everything on your own. Real love has room for you too. Your needs, your voice, your boundaries, and your peace. So if you're the one who always gives more, if you're the one who keeps trying to understand, if you're the one who sees the good in people even when they keep hurting you, I want you to hear this clearly. Your empathy is not the problem. Your lack of boundaries around your empathy is, you don't need to become cold. You need to become selective. You don't need to stop loving. You need to stop rescuing. Because the moment you stop abandoning yourself, everything changes. Some people will fall away. Let them. Some people will get upset. Let them. Some people will reveal they only valued you when you had no boundaries. Let them reveal it. Because that's not loss. That's clarity. And clarity is what finally gives you your power back. The empath doesn't go wrong by loving. The empath goes wrong by losing themselves in the process of loving someone else. And once you see that, you don't just protect your heart, you finally choose it.